properties are not. And so in the existing plan,
when you say comprehensive plan, do you mean neighborhood plan?
No. I mean, the comprehensive plan, the what was the first name of it? It's now the one they're going through draft on.
Is there a neighborhood plan? Is there a neighborhood plan for these historic houses? Is this part of the heritage area?
I do not believe it is part of a current neighborhood plan.
Okay, so it's not part of a current neighborhood plan.
Downtown.
So it doesn't have a neighborhood plan? There's no neighborhood plan? Who made that decision?
Before me.
Do you know? Do you know who made that decision?
I do not know who made that decision.
Okay.
Shannon, let me understand. So the project would be split by North Street. I didn't understand that.
Yes.
So is that right? So part of it will be here.
Can I walk you through it so you understand?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I walk you through this so everyone's on the same page? I mean, I've been at this I literally bought this lot 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I've assembled 420 right here, which is the Elms.
Okay.
I've assembled the Comanche Commons, and then I'm about to purchase all 4 of the houses. It's 409, which is the yellow house right here, and then it's the house on the little stilts you can see, and it's the house on the corner and the one behind it. And so we understood that, and I know there's a lot of talk about historic value of these homes, and so I've already reached out to 5 or 6 people that own property in the San Marcos area, asked them if they would be interested in moving these homes. I said, I don't really care about selling them so much, but I'd like to preserve them. The city would like to preserve them. So we would love to, they're digging in. They said, we'd love to have these houses. You know, if we can.
Heritage Board, if you reached out to Heritage,
we also talked about talking to Alan Thompson,
Okay,
maybe.
yes.
Yeah.
I think he might be able to work with them as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not trying to just plow the whole thing. These 2 we're planning to plow. These are, there is no salvage value, trust me.
In this apartment complex?
This apartment complex.
And then the one on this other side in
Trust
front
me, I
of.
keep this thing up every month,
Okay.
and it is a full-time job plus to keep these going.
When was that built? So it's aging?
It's 50 or 60 years old.
Yeah, I lived in these apartments as a student. So what about all these neighbors on the other? So I'm glad that you care about historic homes, but
Sure.
but is there going to be a buffer for the neighbors that live on the other side?
That's a good point, because next to these homes, right on the other side, there's a very long, it's a fairly narrow, but it goes from Lindsay to, what's the street on the south here? But anyways, it goes the entire
Burleson,
length
right?
of the block.
Isn't that Burleson?
Burleson, and it's already packed with little student houses, and it's packed with multifamily. So it's a multifamily lot,
So
and it's
one
zoned
long
multifamily.
strip that buffers between them, because at the time that you were originally looking at it, you thought about purchasing that,
Right.
and then you were like, well, we would rather leave that as a buffer between.
That was the reason. After
Yeah.
we met with the mayor, you know, we had it built right out to, it was going to be our project, then single family homes.
What did you meet with the mayor on?
Just in general, I just wanted to get her opinion on the project, on just get some feedback from her on if it's a multifamily site.
But you were referencing something a second ago. What were you talking about?
Oh, so that's what I was saying. So when I met with her, I told her that it was going to be my house, my project, and then the single family homes, and she didn't like that. And she said, you know, I would suggest you pull that long, narrow lot out of there since it's already multifamily. So you go single family, multifamily, then your project would step up. So there would be a buffer between the single family and our project.
So in her mind, more multifamily is the buffer to, is that what you're saying? That, so in
It's
other
already
words,
built multifamily.
It's currently there.
It's already there and established. They've been living with it for 30 years.
so there is no buffer then, in other words.
There is a buffer. That is the buffer. It goes from
Multifamily's the
goes
buffer?
from less dense to a little bit more dense. To
Okay,
more
so
dense.
what is the buffer? Is there a buffer?
It's the buffer that's currently there is the buffer.
Which is multifamily, right?
Which is, it's,
Sure.
So there's no buffer. It's
Well,
multifamily.
it's the same
So you're
buffer
putting
they've
more
been living with.
multifamily by multifamily, right?
But they've been living with that buffer for
it's a
30 years.
combination.
Okay, well, don't use the word buffer means that there's separation. That saying that you have multifamily already, that's not a buffer. That's
I
just
guess-
the status quo,
and I
right?
guess we should, it is,
The status-
you're absolutely
Okay,
right in
so
that
so let's
sense.
not use the word buffer.
So in my, okay,
Yeah,
so there
in your
is
mind, because you don't
terminology.
live in that neighborhood.
It
so
is less dense multifamily is
Less
what it
dense.
is. And so
Yes.
so basically the way, so let me flip back really quick to just the comprehensive plan. So existing comprehensive plan is neighborhood low intensity. That's what's currently on the comprehensive plan. The river runs.
Well, you
through
should
it.
know you are the city planner. You're the
That one
perfect
actually
guy
was
for him to
done-
hire.
that
You're
one was
the
adopted
perfect
before I
person,
got
Shannon,
here.
for him to hire.
That
Boy,
was
you got up to speed fast, Shannon.
I know. I mean,
Boy, it's just shocking how much you know about the city.
So 2013, the comprehensive plan was adopted. In the comprehensive plan, it's all low intensity. Pretty much everything outside of the core is low intensity, even out in the ETJ and everywhere. The new comprehensive plan that just got voted out of Planning Commission and that City Council is currently looking at has, this is mixed use, so this does not have to have anything done for it as far as the comprehensive plan for Ferguson area. These properties are proposed, and it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure with the map, but these are all neighborhood medium intensity. The lot that we were talking about that is the buffer lot is actually high intensity neighborhood. So these are medium. That buffer lot, whatever we want to call it, the additional lot in between.
Is it empty? Is it an empty lot?
No, it's got little kind of multi-family 2-story attached, and it's got
Okay, so in your mind, multifamily is buffered to this project.
So it's
okay,
yes.
got it. So it's
It's
not
just
really
a
a buffer. It's just
a
the
less
status
intense,
quo.
I guess is what what I should say. It's a less intense. It's less units on the lot. So you've got MF24 in the old code, and MF18 and MF12, and each one is a little bit less density, and so it's a less density that's between that. But it's actually identified in the comprehensive plan as neighborhood high intensity. So you go from mixed use, medium intensity, to neighborhood intensity, to neighborhood high intensity, and then you go back to medium until you get further down to the neighborhoods. You're further down on Lindsay, kind of over by the old Lindsay Hill project and back towards Range Road 12. And so that's how it's currently laid out going through council right now. And so, so as part of this process, we have to go through the process of doing an informational meeting, which is what happened on Tuesday night, holding a neighborhood meeting on site, which is what's happening now. Sorry, it's hot, and we're lucky that we got a little bit cooler weather and shade. But and then we will go to council for an informational meeting, which actually is on Monday instead of Tuesday. This coming week, they moved their meeting from Tuesday to Monday, so it'll be pretty much the same as what happened at Planning Commission, where staff will give the presentation, and then if council has questions. From that process, we move to actual hearings. And so when we get to the actual hearings, it'll go back to Planning Commission again. I think it's October 10th. I'll check my dates in just one second. But and we go back to Planning Commission, and then after Planning Commission, we have a neighborhood commission meeting also that we go to for the neighborhood commission, and then we'll go back to council, and then we have 3 other parcels or projects where we have to request a CUP for student housing. So all of these properties are zoned for multifamily. So if you wanted to come in and you wanted to develop it with 24 units per acre or 18 or 12 on the different parcels, you could do that as multifamily without doing anything, without going through any city process. The same with these parcels here. This one that we're standing on is actually a CD5, and it comes down and then comes back up to Lindsay. And so it is wedged between those two that's the blank lot that's between those 2 existing parcels. And so that one's zone CD5. These are 24, and then over here we've got 12, 18, and 24. So in order to develop them at a higher intensity, and in order to develop them as any type of student housing, you have to go through those other processes. So the process before us is we do preferred scenario amendment, and then if that is approved, and only if that is approved, then we request the CUP for student housing and the rezoning to rezone it all to the same.
And the height.
And the height, yes.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on something he said earlier. So he said that he owns all these properties. You don't own them. Correct. So you made an offer to purchase the property. Is your offer to purchase going to go through? I mean, are you going to buy them even if the project is not? It's probably go through?
I don't know, honestly. It depends. There's several different ways it could get approved. So it could get approved just multifamily. It could get approved student housing.
But my question is, are you dedicated to buying the land? whether you get the project approved or not. That's my question.
The answer is to what level it gets approved. Right? So I wish I could say better, but I can tell you I have non-refundable money up. So if I don't buy them, I don't get that money back. So I'm going after it, and I'm going to give it my best shot to.
Well, that's an interesting predicament a homeowner's in, that you come approach them that you're about to build a high-rise near them, right? So do they know what's planned when you made that offer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. No, I've discussed this, and I talk to Daryl all the time. Sissy Taylor lives on the corner, and I talk to her frequently. I keep them up to date with what I'm doing, where we're at in zoning, what the process is. So they're aware of everything going on.
So the sorority house was still legal?
Yes.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, okay. But these two are owned by Daryl?
This one's owned by Daryl.
Okay.
And
I
this
thought
one,
this one was.
this
The
409's Daryl, and these are all Sissy Taylor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
her husband just
Her husband,
recently
yes,
passed away.
has recently passed away since we've had these under contract. So
So you said Sissy Taylor for these two?
yeah,
Because I did knock on the door a couple of doors down, and I heard that there was an offer towards Sissy for that home as well, and she decided she didn't want to sell, and she rented it out to a tenant instead. Was the plan to expand further? Were you offering up homes further down as well, or was that?
I have everything she owns under contract. As far as I know, I don't know everything she owns, but she has these 3 homes, and then she had one more home that burned down a couple years ago.
Oh, further
And
down.
all
the
of
line,
that
yeah.
is under contract.
So there's that parking lot where the house burnt down and the slab's still there, and then right past that is another that long piece of property that we talked about.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else that she owns.
Is 413 Lindsay Street in that? Okay, yeah, I did talk to the current tenant there, who is a student. They did sign our petition. They weren't aware, they didn't want the place that they're living in to be torn back down. But I talked to him, and he was under the impression that Sissy was on kind of the line on selling or not, and decided that she wanted to rent out instead with a contract with a student.
Sissy, obviously, for obvious reasons, Sissy has not gone to her tenants and told them, I'm thinking of selling this, because she doesn't know if she's selling it yet. So when she knows she's going to sell it, they're going to have plenty of time to vacate it.
Okay,
This
there will be
project
time
will get
for the
going.
students to.
This project is years in the coming. We've been doing this I've been acquiring this contract, these properties for 7 years. I'll have another year to get, through zoning. I'll have to get through civils. I'll have to get through planning, and then it'll take 3 years to build. So this isn't something I dreamed up last night and then trying to pull the trigger on, and get it built.
So you said you've been working on this for years, is that right?
Years.
Okay, so you worked with him as a city planner then, correct? Did you guys ever have interaction when you were working for a
We
city?
did not have any interaction. They had a project that came through in 2021. It was during COVID,
It was during
2020,
COVID, yeah.
2021 maybe.
Yeah.
And it was for these 3 parcels. And it was a completely different person who was working on it at the time, a lady named Michelle, who interacted with Amanda and the planning staff. But I did not have any interaction.
But you were Amanda's supervisor, right?
was.
Okay,
That's
so that's interesting, Shannon. Okay, so you were Amanda's boss, and he's been working on this for years, and now you're working for him.
I'm actually working for Drenner Group, and he's one of our clients.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so
Must be
But
nice.
why can't you just develop this? I mean, why do you have to have all the rest of this?
this was partially from, and you may or may not believe this, but this is what I planned to develop. In 2021, I took this through planning. It started on the planning and zoning through COVID. Literally months before we're getting ready to go back through planning and zoning, I talked to Sissy. She's like, I want to sell. And Daryl I talked to Daryl. He's like, I would love to sell. Together, that lot is it's weird. It's a weird lot. And so someone would have to go very deep underground to park it and then to go up. But I can park all of that over here in one parking garage. So I can solve a big parking issue in this area by parking it all here and encompassing all of this property. And it seems weird, but it really, when you see it on paper, it's like, that makes sense. That solves this big parking issue right here for these guys. And Sissy saw it and Daryl saw it, and they said, it just makes sense to us as well. You know,
Well, will you tell us, just give us a global overview of what you envision the project being? So I appreciate the parking here, like how many
Yeah.
beds, how many stories, etc.
So right now we have it laid out for 917 beds,
Okay.
and it's 7 stories.
Okay.
And the parking garage will sit basically in the back here behind it, and then all the way along the front will be yeah, this is some pictures you can get a better idea of. Yeah, oh, and you can see it right here. So if I can use this for 1 second. So where we're standing back here, I know this is small, is the parking garage that we're standing on back here, and this would park both. This is Sissy's side of the project over here, and Daryl, and so that's a big donut kind of over here, and then the frontage would all be along here would be student housing. So that when you're facing the university, all along here would look very nice. The parking garage is hidden back with their parking garage behind, and that's kind of the way we have it laid out. So it's
Is
917
everything, every
beds.
building is 7 stories, even the parking garage?
Yeah, the same.
Okay.
the
And I
same.
heard you wanted reduced parking. How many parking spaces are you
Right.
planning to build
Okay.
in comparison to how many beds?
And that's a hot spot but I hired an independent company to take everything that's been built in the last 10 years on this side of I-35. And I said, and the average over here that's parked is about 0.7 parking spaces per 1 bedroom, because not every student brings a car. And some places like the Aspire is parked at 0.68. They're a little bit underparked.
Absolutely,
Right.
a lot of them do. We're definitely not saying that they don't bring cars, but
Right.
I think what Matt is saying is before the existing code was adopted in 2018, they had a TOD reduction that was allowed in the downtown core. And so most of these properties that are along here
Right.
were all developed prior to that. So they, most of them were approved with reductions in parking because of that TOD that at some point the city thought was going to happen, and it never moved that direction. So when the new code was adopted in 2018, that was removed from the code. And so that parking reduction for transit-oriented developments, I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that, but for transit-oriented developments, that was taken away out of the code. And so every area over here is parked at about 0.7, 0.6, 0.7.
Yeah.
Matt hired a guy named Charles Heimseth out of Austin who does multifamily type and does studies all over the state. He's done a lot of stuff along the corridor, and he actually went and surveyed, talked to every one of the apartment complexes within a mile. So there's 10 of them that are on the list. They're on the back of that actually. And surveyed the number of units that they had, the number of bedrooms that they had, as well as he looked at how much they parked. So that's kind of a fluid number we're still kind of looking at, but it's parking higher than what the current ones are parked. But he also identified, because all of the complexes, when they come in, they require you to purchase a parking permit on top of that. So they're able to determine how many permit parking spaces they have and how many are empty.
Unlike the Linden did. That was separate from their rent, and half of those kids did not purchase that parking thing, and that has, it has hurt those merchants over there, because I go over to have lunch, I can't park.
Because they're parking on the streets.
Because they're parking on the retail spots, because they did not put that into their lease that
Right.
you have to
So how
have
many cars are we actually talking about? Because I keep hearing you say this number, but give me a number. What is that number of cars that you're bringing in?
We're right around 700 to 720 parking spaces.
You know, I drive. And this is why I'm here, because I drive this area all the time,
Yes.
and it's look at all these cars that are parked here, and you're telling me that you're not required to have all this additional parking. And you're going on a number that may or may not happen. We know the university is going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
So where are all these people that are going to move into your apartment complex going to park? I mean, look at this. Look at this mess right
I
here.
can't even park
No.
downtown.
Right.
It does on that parking chart that 2 apartments in the area seem to be still have available parking, and the rest of them had 0 spaces left.
Yeah.
Many of those who are parked at the 70%
Right.
range have 0. All their spaces are leased.